Brooklyn Brewery is what you call a craft brewery. We make very flavorful beers. Our top few beers are Brooklyn Lager, which is one of the top selling beers in New York City, Brooklyn East India Pale Ale, and Brooklyn Brown Ale, but we have dozens of others. What you're looking at right now is obviously very much a construction site, but it's also a working brewery. We have a lot going on. This is a $6 million project, taking the brewery in a very short period of time from about 2,500 square feet to 18,000, 19,000 square feet. So let's have a look. This is our older traditional brewing system. We start off with malted barley. What we're going to create is a porridge called the mash. And in the mash, we hit very particular temperatures at which enzymes that are naturally in barley malt convert the starch in that malt into sugars. We rinse all the sugars away from the grain husk, and we bring the sugars to a boil, and we have a liquid then called the wort. And it's to that we add the hops. And the hops give you the bitterness in beer, but also a range of flavors and aromas. At that point, we add the yeast. And even though we say that we make beer, the fact of the matter is that we make wort, and yeast makes beer. The yeast is going to consume all the sugar, it's going to give off carbon dioxide, give off flavors, give off aromas, give off alcohol, and we're going to end up at the end of that process about a week later with beer. Well, the head brewer is essentially the chef of the brewery. I come up with all of our recipes, all our procedures. The process of conceiving of a new beer, in a way, it's like conceiving of a recipe for a dish. You know, if you're going to be a chef in a restaurant, what is it that you want to do? Are you going to base something on an ingredient? Beer can taste like chocolate or bananas. You can roast the grain and end up with something that tastes like coffee. There's a whole range of different ideas that might go in, from very classical to something that nobody's ever tasted before. Craft beer, I think, is not only the past of American beer, but also the future of American beer. As we kind of leave an industrialized food culture, you know, which came with an industrialized beer culture, unfortunately, we now move into things like this. And this is Local One. Local One is a beer that really represented a transition for me, for the other brewers, and for the brewery in general. We made a lot of complex beers before, but this beer takes about 2.5 months to make. There's a lot of handwork involved. It's a beer that's re-fermented in the bottle. Like champagne, the secondary fermentation in the bottle is actually original to beer rather than champagne. What we're tasting is the original malt that we're starting off with. Very, very dry, almost honey, tobacco, earthy, rum-like character. A very high but very fine carbonation. I think that beers like this help bring new excitement to beer for people who have not yet discovered beer. And even for people who do know beer, I think they come to this and they say, wow, it's really cool that Americans can do that now. Here in the United States, we have 1,500 breweries and the most exciting beer culture in the world. Whereas at one time, we had essentially nothing. A type of so-called beer that wherever you went in the world, people made fun of us. And they don't make fun of us anymore.